Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times, a Prancing Pony podcast production. I'm the Man of the West. It's time to wrap up week 91 with Silmarillion Saturday. Now, these Saturdays are our chance to revisit the history and legends of the Elder Days, whether from the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, or more. Now, this series, I'm bringing you a prologue of sorts to what we're looking at on First Age Fridays as we cover the story of Tuor and his coming to Gondolin. For now, we are still working through the chapter of Maeglin. We've got a few more weeks, I think 3, before we go on to Of the Ruin of Beleriand and the Fall of Fingolfin, which will then complete next series. Now, last week, Aredhel was captured by Eöl and taken. I want to repeat that word for emphasis, taken by him as a wife. We also met their son, Maeglin, in his growing up years, and now that he's grown, he has some thoughts, as we'll see this week. Yet it is said that Maeglin loved his mother better, and if Eöl were abroad, he would sit long beside her and listen to all that she could tell him of her kin and their deeds in Eldamar, and of the might and valor of the princes of the house of Fingolfin. All these things he laid to heart, but most of all that which he heard of Turgon, and that he had no heir, for Elenwe his wife perished in the crossing of the Helcaraxe, and his daughter Idril Celebrimbor was his only child. In the telling of these tales, there was awakened in Aredhel a desire to see her own kin again, and she marveled that she had grown weary of the light of Gondolin, and the fountains in the sun, and the green sward of Tumladen under the windy skies of spring. Moreover, she was often alone in the shadows when both her son and her husband were away. Of these tales also grew the first quarrels of Maeglin and Eöl. For by no means would his mother reveal to Maeglin where Turgon dwelt, nor by what means one might come thither, and he bided his time, trusting yet to wheedle the secret from her, or perhaps to read her unguarded mind. But ere that could be done, he desired to look on the Noldor and speak with the sons of Feanor, his kin, that dwelt not far away. But when he declared his purpose to Eöl, his father was wrathful. "You are of the house of Eöl, Maeglin, my son," he said, "and not of the Gollithrim. All this land is the land of the Teleri, and I will not deal, nor have my son deal with the slayers of our kin, the invaders and usurpers of our homes. In this you shall obey me, or I will set you in bonds." And Maeglin did not answer, but was cold and silent, and went abroad no more with Eöl, and Eöl mistrusted him. It came to pass that at the midsummer the dwarves, as was their custom, bade Eöl to a feast in Nogrod, and he rode away. Now Maeglin and his mother were free for a while to go where they wished, and they rode often to the eaves of the wood, seeking the sunlight. And desire grew hot in Maeglin's heart to leave Nan Elmoth forever. Therefore he said to Aredhel, "Lady, let us depart while there is time. What hope is there in this wood for you or for me? Here we are held in bondage, and no profit shall I find here, for I have learned all that my father has to teach, or that the Naugrim will reveal to me. Shall we not seek for Gondolin? You shall be my guide, and I will be your guard." Then Aredhel was glad, and looked with pride upon her son. And telling the servants of Eöl that they went to seek the sons of Feanor, they departed and rode away to the north eaves of Nan Elmoth. There they crossed the slender stream of Kellon into the land of Himlad, and rode on to the fords of Aros, and so westward along the fences of Doriath. Now Eöl returned out of the east sooner than Maeglin had foreseen, and found his wife and his son but 2 days gone. And so great was his anger that he followed after them even by the light of day. As he entered the Himlad, he mastered his wrath and went warily, remembering his danger. For Celegorm and Curufin were mighty lords who loved Eöl not at all, and Curufin, moreover, was of perilous mood. But the scouts of Aglon had marked the riding of Maeglin and Aredhel to the fords of Aros, and Curufin, perceiving that strange deeds were afoot, came south from the pass and encamped near the fords. And before Eöl had ridden far across the Himlad, he was waylaid by the riders of Curufin and taken to their lord. Then Curufin said to Eöl, "What errand have you, dark elf, in my lands? An urgent matter, perhaps, that keeps one so sun-shy abroad by day?" And Eöl, knowing his peril, restrained the bitter words that arose in his mind. "I have learned, Lord Curufin," he said, "that my son and my wife, the White Lady of Gondolin, have ridden to visit you while I was from home, and it seemed to me fitting that I should join them on this errand." Then Curufin laughed at Aredhel, and he said, "They might have found their welcome here less warm than they hoped, had you accompanied them. But it is no matter, for that was not their errand. It is not 2 days since they passed over the Rosiach, and thence rode swiftly westward. It seems that you would deceive me, unless indeed you yourself have been deceived." And Aredhel answered, "Then, Lord, perhaps you will give me leave to go and discover the truth of this matter." "You have my leave, but not my love," said Curufin. "The sooner you depart from my land, the better will it please me." Then Aredhel mounted his horse, saying, "It is good, Lord Curufin, to find a kinsman thus kindly at need. I will remember it when I return." Then Curufin looked darkly upon Aredhel. "Do not flaunt the title of your wife before me," he said. "For those who steal the daughters of the Noldor and wed them without gift or leave do not gain kinship with their kin. I have given you leave to go. Take it and be gone. By the laws of the Eldar I may not slay you at this time. And this counsel I add, return now to your dwelling in the darkness of Nan Elmoth, for my heart warns me that if you now pursue those who love you no more, never will you return thither." Then Aredhel rode off in haste, and he was filled with hatred of all the Noldor, for he perceived now that Maeglin and Aredhel were fleeing to Gondolin. Now, today was another long reading, so I know I don't have a lot of time here, but I want to focus on this marriage stuff again. Laws and customs of the Eldar tells us a lot, including that the Eldar wedded once only in life and for love or at the least by free will upon either part. Even when in after days, as the histories reveal, many of the Eldar in Middle-earth became corrupted and their hearts darkened by the shadow that lies upon Arda, seldom is any tale told of deeds of lust among them. Well, given what we know about Aredhel's actions, this would be one of those, few stories of the deeds of lust among them. As we pointed out last week, not wholly unwilling is at least partially unwilling, and that's really, really, really bad. But this marriage has other problems, and Curufin, ironically, is the one to point it out. Those who steal the daughters of the Noldor and wed them without gift or leave do not gain kinship with their kin. Gifts were an important part of Eldar marriage. Betrothal, which usually lasted a minimum of a year, was indicated by the mutual gifting of silver rings. At the marriage itself, they would then give back their silver rings and exchanged golden rings to be worn on the index finger of the right hand. Also, the bride's mother would customarily give the groom a jewel on a chain, and the bridegroom's father would give a similar gift to the bride. Now, someday I'll explore that and the Elessar given to Aragorn by Galadriel, but that's another day. My point is that Aredhel didn't do this right at all. I mean, sure, elves could get married without all the ceremony, but it was held ungracious and contemptuous of kin to forgo the ceremonies. Now, when you add the lack of consent, which Curufin doesn't know about, or he might have slain Aredhel where he stood, this is hardly a marriage at all, and we'll see these acts bear fruit in the coming weeks. For now, though, folks, that does it for this week's Silmarillion Saturday. Thank you for joining me, and come back next week as Aredhel and her son arrive in Gondolin, followed by a very unwelcome visitor. Please visit patreon.com/TolkienTimes to learn how you can get an ad-free feed, bonus episodes, and be a part of my content council to help decide what I'll talk about next series. Podcast listeners, please be sure to subscribe to the TTT in your podcast apps. For those on YouTube, subscribe to the channel to get all of the PPP productions, and be sure you're following @PrancingPonyPod on all your social media. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.